15 years and 181 days, schoolboy Ethan Nwaneri become the youngest footballer to play a part in a Premier League match, as he was a late substitute for Arsenal at Brentford. Of course, the papers caught onto this because this is exactly the sort of story we all love. Child's play in this morning's Daily Express. Gunners cruise to top as Ethan 15 sets Premier League record. Arsenal's Ethan Nwaneri, now the Premier League's youngest ever player, was not even born when the Emirates Stadium first opened. That was Sam Dean in the Telegraph, and it caused me to suck a thoughtful tooth because to me, the Emirates is still a brand new stadium, you know. Gary Jacobs wrote at the time, the attacking midfielder, the first under-16 to feature in the Premier League, had to get changed with his kit in separate rooms at the G-Tech Community Stadium to comply with child protection rules before joining his teammates in the dressing room for Mikel Arteta's pre-match talk. Listen, why don't we, before we get stuck into this, and I'm looking forward to hearing the lads talk, but why don't we hear from Mikel Arteta himself, who explained why he gave Ethan his debut at such a young age.
The last year or two from Per at the academy, from all the coaches, from Edu, that we have certain talents that we really need to look after, and the best way to do it is send a strong message that it's not going to be about the age. The age doesn't tell you you're a good player or a bad player. And when you look at that boy, I have that feeling that he has something special, and now he's going to make a step forward, and now maybe he needs 10 backwards to go another 11 forward, but it's just another nice moment.
What were you doing at 15? Playing Premier League football?
I was in Barcelona playing almost for the B team, but no comparison.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta there talking about Ethan Nwaneri, who came on at, let's get this exactly right, 15 and a half years of age. Now, look, we shouldn't go mad here because some players develop very early, and as we saw when Spurs got beat in Lisbon during the week, some players take a little while to find their feet, even no matter how talented they are. Thinking about Marcus Edwards, who is, you know, everyone's known he's been a brilliant player with a football for 5 years, but now he's doing it on a football pitch. But as an ex-pro, Danny, you must have taken a deep breath when you saw a 15-year-old coming on the Premier League.
Yeah, do you know what, Dan? It's a really interesting one. Sean and I were talking about this earlier. I'm not convinced it's the best move for a young player. I'm really not. I have seen superstars come on the scene at a young age and thrive and go on and carry on. But there's also been a lot who've fallen by the wayside. I think it was a little bit... He's obviously a super talent. He's obviously doing well in training and impressing everybody. But surely they've got other 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are probably further ahead in their development who could have gone on the bench. I think it's probably trying to keep a young superstar happy a little bit, which is what managers do. I get that. But I would be more concerned with sometimes what that can do, because you can elevate a 15, 16, 17-year-old even at times to a position that becomes very difficult for them to cope with mentally, because they're already becoming a superstar. I'd imagine his Insta went up by about 300,000 in a day and things like this now. And people might laugh at this and think, oh, stop being cynical and sceptical. Very few players at 17, never mind 15, burst onto the Premier League scene and do what Rooney and Michael Owen did. Very few.
No.
I saw
the very fact that you could name the two of them.
Well, maybe Giggs,
shows you were making your point, doesn't it?
Giggs maybe 17 or something, and Walcott was young, if I remember. But I think that you have to be really careful, because you're putting them in a position where if he was to come on a sub a few times and up for a club like Arsenal, he's going to become famous overnight. His lifestyle is going to change. Everything about, rather than him just getting on with his football, he's now having to deal with something else. Now, Arteta might bite back, and Arsenal fans say, well, he's ready, so he should be thrown in there. I'm not sure anybody's ever ready at 15, to be honest with you. So although I'm pleased for him and his family, because it's a phenomenal record he's just broken, and hopefully he does go on to great things, I just think it could be something that Arteta maybe, with hindsight, wouldn't do if he looks back.
Sean, are you sharing Danny's unbridled joy at the boy making his debut?
No, but I think there's a reason Danny mentioned earlier, in that they want to show him that Arsenal want to keep him. It's about, you can't sign a professional contract.
I know
when you're 15. No, but I think that's one of the big reasons.
No,
and also
showing.
Right. I saw Sam Allardyce did it with Jermaine Pennant when he was at Notts County. Pennant made his debut when he was 15 and a schoolboy, and he played him in a game for Notts County against Sheffield United. Now, that wasn't intended to keep him. That was intended for if the case went to tribunal, they could show that he was a very valuable asset to Notts County, and that he'd played first-team football, and therefore they were entitled to more compensation than they ordinarily would have been. In the event, he was sold to Arsenal about 3 days later, and they did a deal with Arsenal and got £1.5 million for him. So it was a good move for him to show that this player was, in his eyes, ready. I think Arteta's doing a similar thing in that he's showing he is a valuable asset to the club, and that if he sticks, he actually will stick with Arsenal. Pennant was never going to stay with Notts County, but in this case, if he sticks with Arsenal, there could be a big future for him. I share Danny's misgivings that you can get very big time very quickly, I would guess, when you're 15 if you're playing in the first team.
I mean, I might be doing him an injustice. He might be absolutely phenomenal and the best young talent we've ever seen. But I think sometimes protecting players is the best way. If you even being overcautious to a degree, because they're a long time in the limelight and a long time dealing with. I didn't make my Premier League debut till I was, I think, 20 when I'd signed for Liverpool. And I remember the change in my life overnight. Overnight.
Go on then.
I'm talking. I don't mean financially. I mean fame. Oh, yeah. I mean people recognise you in the street. People starting to talk to you, demand your time. And all of a sudden the negative things come as well, which is the criticism. Or you're out in a bar. I'm not sure he'll be out in a bar because he's too young, but I was, and that comes with problems because the jealousy kicks in. I'm not suggesting you suppress someone's career path to protect them from idiots. What I'm saying is there's a lot of minefields out there when you start being known very, very well and in the limelight. And maybe at 15 and a half, it wasn't the time to do it.
But Rooney, when he makes his debut at 16, doesn't he, in the Premier League? But when Rooney believed he could have played at 15 in the first team, and then he was up for it. I mean, he was a man, wasn't he? Probably when he was 16.
He was amazingly physically developed.
He believed he could have played at 15 in the first team, and I don't think, if we look back, we probably would have doubted that. And I think he proved his point that he was ready the moment he came in. So I presume there are occasionally players who
I think they're an exception rather than the rule.
I
read a great piece today. I can't think what paper it was in now, and it was it was following the story of I think 5 or 6 lads who were superstars at 16, 17 who I don't even know the names of now. And it was just giving the example of players who get pushed in really quickly and given too much too soon. Look, we are talking generally. I don't know the lad, this young kid Ethan. He's probably a very well grounded and got good family around him, so that's good. But I just think in a situation where Arsenal are flying anyway, they got lots. Bringing in a 15-year-old and presenting him with these hurdles and minefields so early, I beg to differ that it was the correct thing to do.